now listening to the Lineman Lounge,
where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
the Lineman Lounge.
What's up, my babies? It's the Lyman Lounge podcast coming to you live from Hangar 6. I am Evo, one half of the thickest podcasting sports duo in all of the southern U.S., maybe the entire U.S. And across from me, we got Mike Carlisle, my thick little baby as well. So what's up, Mike?
Not much, man. Just hanging out. Had a pretty good weekend. Had some local football here. We had our scrimmages this weekend. First two games were a little rough, a little timid in the kids. Game 3, we came out and smacked the shit out of the team we were playing. So good weekend there. I did not make it to golf this weekend. I woke up late, and I thought the tee time was at 9:30. 9:45 was the actual tee time, so I could have made it. So kind of flaked out there. So I apologize.
It's no big deal. I thought the tee time was 9:30 as well, so I was there just a little bit earlier than needed. But it's all right. You didn't miss a whole lot other than most people posting up pretty bad scores. Ooh. I always add like 5 strokes or so whenever I play this particular golf course. I put a little bit more on this day, which is fine.
See, that's one thing that is sad about this is, like, I love playing at PDS. That's like my favorite course in town. And of course, long day Saturday. I think we got there at the fields at 9:30-ish. Left the fields at like 3:30 or 3 o'clock. Went and got a haircut, came back. Definitely needed a couple drinks after that long-ass day, and then slept in. While I enjoyed the sleep, do kind of wish that I had gone and played some golf. So,
yeah, we're gonna not have as much time to golf and stuff like that with football becoming more of a bigger thing. It's going to really limit our weekends to when we can play. So it's not a big deal, and we know that it's going to be here and there when we get to get some play in.
Right.
I went and watched scrimmages actually on Saturday, so I'm not, I'm coaching flags, so not watching tackle football, but the tackle football is a little bit more of my passion. So
yeah,
it was good to go watch that, knock back a couple drinks and a thermos while I was watching football and critiquing.
Make sure it's hidden. Right?
Oh, yeah. Got to be professional at all times. Yeah. So. But yeah, so it is Tuesday, August 17th. Want to kick into some sports news from the past several days?
I do. So over the weekend, there was quite a bit of things that happened. One of the things that we want to start out with, though, is we're going to start in baseball. So something remarkable happened over the weekend. Diamondbacks are the worst team in all of baseball. They are going to lose 100 games, but they had a spectacular bright spot happen over the weekend, and that is Tyler Gilbert and his no-hitter. Now, no-hitters are not common, or not typically common outside of this year. This is our 8th no-hitter of the year. That is a metric shit ton of no-hitters in one year. It's the record, and a lot of people were attributing to the early success to maybe some of the sticky substances and a little bit of the cheating. Okay, well, that didn't happen with Tyler Gilbert.
Correct. Yeah, they say they've kind of knocked down on those foreign substances. They've had some suspensions, so players are tapering back on that, and you're starting to see offenses kind of come back a little bit more because of that. But yeah, pretty impressive for him to, not only in his first start, or not just have it be his first start in MLB, but to get a no-hitter for that. I looked it up since 1876. MLB's averaging 2 no-hitters per year. And I believe you said how many no-hitters by first-time pitchers?
So there's only 4 that have ever happened in history. You got, I'm going to mess this name up, but it's Theodore Breitenstein in 1891.
Behind.
All right. Bumpus Jones 1892.
That's a baseball name.
That is a Hall of Fame name. I don't care what he played like. That guy deserves to be in the Hall
That's
of
a
Fame.
good baseball name.
And then Bob Holloman in 1953. Those are three guys that have done this before. Obviously, the game has changed. Those 1891 and 1892, that happens in the dead ball era where, the ball's not being changed out. It becomes squishy. It's harder to hit it, and it's harder to hit the damn thing far. The people on the podcast have heard me talk about how Shohei is doing things that Babe Ruth never did because Shohei is pitching at a high level while also hitting bombs, and Babe Ruth didn't do those two things. He was a good pitcher in the dead ball era and then became a prolific home run hitter in the live ball era. Well, this guy goes out and in the year of the Lord, 2021, throws a no-hitter in his very first major league start. He's had a couple of innings in relief.
It wasn't a complete game, though, correct?
No,
I
it
believe,
was.
Did he hit a batter or something like that?
Yeah, so it was not a perfect game.
No,
so
that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, the difference between that perfect game and that no-hitter is nobody gets on base, period. There are even fewer of those in history. I think it's like 13. The last one was done in 2012 by Felix Hernandez of the Mariners. I want to say it was 2012. I know it was Felix. I just don't remember what year. So those are even more rare. He had that chance, gets a guy on base. I don't remember if it was a walk or if he hit a guy. But to go out and throw a no-hitter is special no matter what. And to do it in your first start is even more special. And then to have your dad in the stands right there to see it all happen is even more special. If you guys have not seen the video, you can go on the Lineman Lounge Facebook page, and there I posted the video, and the emotion is real. It's palpable. You can just feel that kind of energy, that excitement.
It was another one of those moments like the Field of Dreams game where it's like, this is the romantic part of baseball.
Yep.
And this is why we watch it. So yeah, there's 23 perfect games.
23.
And Felix Hernandez 2012.
Okay. So 23. So I was off on I said 13 is 23.
But that just goes to show how many baseball games happen per year.
162 for a team.
Correct.
So
all right.
That's a shitload of games.
Yeah, and baseball's been played for fucking ever.
150 years.
The statistical odds would say that you'd think that would happen more often, but it just goes to show you how incredible of a feat that sort of thing is. And not, obviously it wasn't a perfect game, but it was a great game for him.
It's only happened 3 times before.
Yeah.
That's insane. And, I posted on the Facebook page, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Baseball is one of those games where these kind of moments, everybody can feel it. Like, football games are great. They're exciting. But you don't necessarily get these kind of moments. You don't get necessarily these kind of moments in basketball or in hockey. Baseball is special in that regard, and these things should be, pumped up. They should be, put on display for the world to see, because that kind of raw emotion, that excitement, that gets people excited. Now, is baseball going to really put a lot of press into this, and what kind of remarkable feat it is?
It's already off the front page of ESPN. So.
Yeah, exactly. But that's Major League Baseball. Rob Manfred sucks.
Yep.
But I don't want to dish on Rob Manfred to take away from Tyler Gilbert. What he did was amazing. Congratulations. I mean, he's a 27-year-old guy, so he has been down in the minors for quite some time. Mm-hmm. Finally gets that chance and absolutely capitalizes on it. So happy for him, man.
Yep. And let us know what you think about Tyler Gilbert's phenomenal game. Connect with us on the socials. We've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We've got the Lineman Lounge at gmail.com. No mailbag questions this week, but go ahead. Hit us up. Let us know how you feel. And we're going to start trying to connect with you more through those social media outlets with some questions that we'll put out, and we'll talk about responses on the pod once we actually get some feedback from it. So let us know what you think of Tyler Gilbert's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Please interact with the show. And so that segment that we kind of debuted on the last show, the start, bench, sit, or was it start, bench, cut? Sit.
Start, bench, cut.
Start, bench, cut. So we are going to start putting that out to you guys as well. So you can expect a poll coming out probably tonight or tomorrow on the Facebook page and on Twitter. We're going to get your responses, and then we're going to break that down again on Friday. We'll give you our take. We'll see where the people landed in that poll, and we'll kind of start hopefully getting a little more interaction. And obviously, it's on us too to be more prominent on those social media platforms. I know I'm not great at it. I am not a huge social media guy. I do it because I have to.
I do memes on social media,
Right.
for the most part, and maybe look at some ladies. But
That's what the Instagram is
so,
for.
yeah, a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna do a better job of trying to just reach out, get you guys to connect, hear your voices, because you can sit here and listen to Mike and I talk for an hour or however long they were on the podcast. But a lot of this started off because we like talking in our group settings, in our little peer group settings, about sports and just shooting the shit, having disagreements, agreeing on things, whatever it may be. But we like to get everyone's opinions, because without open discourse on stuff, you're never going to have your mind change. We just sit in echo chambers, even if it comes just to sports. So we want to bring this sort of discourse to you through the podcast, but we also want to hear what you have to say, because this is the fun of talking about sports, is everybody getting involved. All right. So moving on from baseball, we talked about Quinn Ewers a couple times. Ohio State recruit quarterback. He is reported to the Buckeyes now. And most recently, Schefter reported, I believe on Monday, that he's actually signed with 2 talent agencies to, I guess, manage his NIL representation. He already has done one NIL deal for Holy Kombucha, a health drink.
Gross.
I love kombucha, actually.
Oh, it's so nasty.
I feel refreshed after drinking kombucha, especially after a workout. And it's supposed to be good for your gut biome. And Lord knows my toilet thinks my gut biome needs to be fixed a little bit. All right.
So I hate tea. So kombucha just makes tea even worse than I already think it is. But, I mean, good for Quinn getting that first deal. I think it's interesting that he is talking to agencies about managing that stuff. I figured the NCAA would have kind of tried to put a stop to representation of the athletes and have them kind of work these deals more for themselves, because now we really get into that realm of, are these guys professionals? They are being represented by an agency rather than them representing themselves, them using their own name, image, and likeness. Now somebody else is using it and helping them promote that.
That makes sense, but I could see on the other side of the coin, the NCAA might not really have too much of a problem with it if this player, we'll say Quinn Ewers, goes out and he gets all these different NIL deals with a Nike and Adidas, or these big major brands, Under Armour, whatever, and he's getting on commercials and stuff already. It's going to draw more people to this player that, I mean, you have a large segment of people that only watch NFL football. Right. You have a large segment of people that only watch college football, but you have segmented groups that might not know who the next up-and-coming talent out of college football is until draft time or even thereafter. Now they're getting more exposure, getting more primetime stuff in ads or whatnot, and it might draw those people to watch college football a little more. That equals more revenue for the schools, for the teams, for the NCAA, and it could make up a little bit of that margin of what they are now not able to get because of this NIL deal. So.
Absolutely. Well, and if it is good for the NCAA, of course they're going to do it, because the NCAA is in the business of making money on the cheapest labor they possibly can make it off of. So I see that point. I just thought that given the NCAA's past on, kind of how they crack down on, what is and is not allowed, I figured there would have been some sort of restriction on representation. When kids leave college for the NBA draft, they can go back to college after declaring for the draft as long as they don't sign representation, as long as they don't sign an agent. So if you don't sign an agent, you test out the draft process, you don't like where you're maybe falling, you can go back and then you're back on scholarship. I figured there would be something similar to that with the NIL, but like you said, if this helps the NCAA promote the game, make more money, then of course the NCAA is going to be on board. They're not going to, do anything that would jeopardize their money, even though there's a chance in the not too distant future that the NCAA is going to be completely worthless, depending on what happens with these super conferences.
Yeah, it's the landscape's going to change dramatically. Just doing a quick Google search, I really can't find a whole lot of restrictions other than the restrictions that the NCAA has on the player. So it's basically just going over how the NCAA can't prevent the player from earning money based on their name, image, likeness, and most of what it's talking about is just restricting the NCAA from being able to say a player can or can't do something and taking away their eligibility or something like that.
Okay.
So obviously, real quick Google reference here, and we all know that Google is 100% correct.
Always.
So that's something to actually look into because we talked about this a little bit before. What are the NIL rules? Well, like, how does that actually play in? What can players do? So I'm a little bit more interested now. We're gonna have to look into that and see what sort of restrictions college athletes actually have to earning an income.
Yeah, because I think there is the potential for like that slippery slope, right? So now he has some representation. Now I don't know these organizations, these talent agencies, or whatever the hell they are, but if he starts to have this agency start looking at his prospects for being drafted, that is definitely going to cross that line of what he is not allowed to do. So they must, maintain strict focus on that NIL.
Yeah, it's a Sports Stars Incorporated and Rubicon Talent. Now, I also with the NFL, I don't completely know this. This is the legal side of the Players Association that I don't completely understand, but I know that there are things in place where players cannot be represented by an agency unless they have certification through the NFLPA,
Right.
and that agencies will do what they can to earn that certification. But if they, say, have a difficult past with handling money or screwing players over and stuff like that, the Players Association will basically pull certification from a representation agency and say you can no longer represent people for the NFL.
Yep.
Neither of us recognize this Sports Star Incorporated or Rubicon Talent, which by all means they might be bigger. Maybe they are trying to vie to get themselves certified with the NFL. They're able to say, hey, we are going to represent you. They might not even take any sort of a cut from Quinn Ewers and just say, hey, let us represent you. Let us, cut our teeth and show that we are good at representing talent, so that way we can get our certification with the NFLPA. I mean, there's obviously got to be something in it for these guys. If they're not taking a cut off of his NIL deals right now, there's going to be something in the future. It might be the long game for him. So maybe that's how it's going. I don't know.
Well, and then they picked the great guy to get their foot in the door with and kind of, make sure that
Dude, they got to get that guy on some hair product ads.
Oh, Head and Shoulders.
Trojan condoms. Head and Shoulders, all right? He could be the next Troy Polamalu,
yeah,
right?
Him,
not for the condoms, for the Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu, Pat Mahomes, Quinn Ewers with their fucking hair. I'd watch that commercial. I would never change the channel for that.
I fucking hate commercials.
So some of them are great. Some of them are fantastic. Like, hey, Scoop, there it is. I don't care when that. I'm
favorite commercial all time.
There it is. Scoop, there it is.
That's it.
Hands down.
It's the it's the Little Caesars. There is no rules for me. Where $5 hot and ready's. There's no rules. There's one rule. Put your shirt back on. That whole thing. That's my favorite.
That is a great commercial.
But also on the inverse of that, next time I see a political ad, I'm not voting for you. I'm done.
Oh God, I'm so.
As soon as you start pandering to me like that, and I see every other fucking YouTube ad saying, this representative's bad, vote for me, I approve of this message. You just lost my vote, you piece of shit.
And don't worry, because the guy on the other side will have a commercial right after that guy.
Yeah, so I'm just apparently going to vote for, fucking Bart Simpson or something like that. I don't know.
So not to get too political, but libertarian. You're not going to see too many commercials for that.
That's true.
Anyways,
that is true.
We'll get off of that subject before we get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and run straight into the NFL. So some quick news that broke today. Jamal Adams, star safety for the Seahawks, he's been requesting an extension. He finally got that extension. He is now the highest paid safety in the NFL.
Yeah, so it is a shitload of money. 4 years, 77 or the
72.
numbers? 72. 4 years, 72. That is an astronomical amount of money. But he is, when he's on the field, one of the best safeties in the NFL. Now, he is a box safety. So that might bring down his value a little bit. He's not necessarily known for his excellent ball skills, getting a lot of picks, but he is very stout against the run. He'll go in, he'll get sacks, he can break up passes, but does not have a lot of interceptions to his name. Him and Buda Baker, I think, are very similar in that regard. Buda was the highest paid guy, I believe, was not known for having tremendous ball skills. Obviously, we saw that great pick he had against Seattle last year, where he got run down like a child running away with something they're not supposed to have. But I don't have a problem with Jamal being the highest paid safety. I think it's a lot for a box safety.
At the end of the day, it ends up being about 18 mil per year average. Now, he did get 20 mil signing bonus, 38 million of it guaranteed. So, close to half the contract being guaranteed, which is pretty good for him. Again, keep bringing this up. The cap is going to increase next year.
Yep.
Players are going to start seeing these deals that are record-breaking as far as how much a position group is getting. Safeties have, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, been really that you will see a lot of good safeties that are free agents that won't get signed by teams. There will be guys on the market that could be starting in the league, but teams just aren't signing them, and they're signing them to smaller deals because there seems to be more safeties out there than are necessary in the league. Your difference is cornerback. You have a minimum of 2 on the field at any given time. You need to have depth of 4 to 6 guys because most teams playing nickel and things like that, you're going to have usually probably 3 on the field, injuries and stuff like that because they're more sleight of frame. You need to have more of those guys. Whereas safeties, that's that hybrid in between a cornerback and a linebacker. They're a little bit more sturdy. They're that kind of center fielder, ball hawk guy. They do a lot of what a cornerback does and have talent like a cornerback, but because there's less of them on the field, less of them needing to be rostered, I think that kind of pushes down their value some because it creates that economic. It's a wealth of really good players. So you'll see those smaller contracts for guys that are really supreme talent. And to see Jamal Adams get this sort of deal, I feel like this is taking out that economic value. I think it makes sense for him to be getting that much. He's one of the top 3 at his position. That sort of number makes sense to me why he would be getting that. But in relation to the actual NFL landscape, it is higher for a safety for sure.
It is very high for
so
safety.
You're still expecting to see top-end safeties be getting somewhere between 13 and 15 a year to jump up to that roughly 18 a year with almost half of it guaranteed. Good for him. He went out there and got his bread. It is a little bit higher. But Seattle, I think, is almost grasping at straws. They don't. The 12th man defense is not what it used to be.
No, they are no longer the Legion of Boom.
They want to retain those guys that are supreme talent as best as they can. And obviously he was disgruntled. They don't want to go into the season with that issue. They get that shit handled. Now we'll see if they can take care of it with their offensive tackle Brown, because their offensive line has perennially been pretty bad. It is ruining Russell Wilson's career potential. I don't think we've seen anything of what Russell Wilson can really do behind a super solid offensive line with a great supporting cast around him, which is scary. And they keep on overlooking that line, so they need to go out and pay that tackle.
Yeah, so I agree. But so we're going to touch on the safety thing. So most teams only carry about four safeties when they get down to final roster.
Maybe
cuts.
5 that has a positional flexibility between strong and free.
Exactly. So, but I think that's one thing that helps him with this contract is his flexibility. You're going to see safeties who have that flexibility, who can go in, play a linebacker spot, go slide out to the slot, be a box safety, or if you need him to, he can drop back into that deep center field. I think Jamal Adams has the ability to do all of those things. Now, we haven't seen him as a deep center fielder type too often, but he is able to play in the slot. You can have him on the field. You can take a linebacker off the field, and you're getting the exact same type of production that your linebacker would have with Jamal Adams in the box. He is
especially
that type of player.
coverage linebacker. But obviously, Jamal Adams is willing to go up there and lay the lumber, which is what you want to see from one of those in the box type safeties.
So having that position versatility definitely helps him here. You're going to start seeing defenses really look for these kinds of guys like that Minka Fitzpatrick type, who was a corner when he came into the league, is now at free safety. You could put him anywhere. You could slide him into the slot. So those guys are really coveted because defenses want to be multiple. They want to be able to play base, but base now is no longer really base. Almost everything is nickel. You're going to have at least 5 defensive backs on the field. So if you can slide a safety or take a linebacker off, slide a safety into the slot, then you're not losing a lot of production in stopping the run. Right? Cleveland is really trying to push for a big nickel, 3 safeties on the field. So, I mean, this is going to start to become more prevalent. Maybe these contracts continue to raise for safeties who have that position versatility. But, hey, good for Jamal Adams. Like I said 100 times, you are worth what somebody is willing to pay you. So go get your bag. He got his. I'm very happy for him.
Yep, absolutely. Or I guess you could say 100%. I agree.
100%.
100%. All right, so we'll move on from that. We have preseason week 1, the official week 1 of NFL preseason football, not including, of course, the Hall of Fame game, which
was
is
dog shit.
A little bit of a show. All right, a lot of good stuff that we can pull from preseason week 1. So me personally, I like to pick and choose whether or not I pay attention to a score. I'm choosing this week not to pay attention to my Vikings score.
That's probably smart.
But I will say this: we rested 30 players, all of our starters, and a lot of our key backups. All right, so we were playing the ones for the Broncos, and I actually liked some of what I saw. So as a whole, it was not good, but I liked the play from certain players. It was nice nice to see some of these rookies come in and perform. We got offensive guard Wyatt Davis that looked good from a team. Especially compared to Dakota Dozier, which, by the way, I just need to get this off my chest. I hate Dakota Dozier. He's an offensive guard, came from the Jets. He followed our former offensive line coach, who is now just part of the team, because he didn't want to get the vaccine. Dakota Dozier is a journeyman backup swing guard at best. But it just goes to show you how bad our line has been. We started him last year, and he was easily the weakest point on our offensive line. And it was on a 1-year deal, and we ended up bringing him back this offseason because they just wanted some continuity, it seems like.
Right.
And also he has a history with the offensive line coach, or former offensive line coach, Rick Dennison. God damn, did Dakota Dozier just re-solidify himself as being the weakest part of our team. Not only did he have multiple penalties on the first drive, he led to a safety. He went ahead and held a guy in the end zone when our quarterback was in the end zone, resulting in a safety. And then you have Wyatt Davis, our offensive guard from Ohio State, come in. And I want to say Dakota Dozier's grade was like a 33 from Pro Football Focus. And Wyatt Davis, first NFL action ever, and he is not 100% healthy, and he goes and puts up like a 70-something, 80-something, and looks tremendously better. You actually see him going out and being a bit of a mauler and stuff like that. So while I hate seeing Dakota Dozier play on my team, it made me happy to actually see this stuff happen and see the frustration from the team, because maybe they're going to wise up and be like, we just can't afford to have this guy on our team. We need to move on from him already and allow this rookie to come out here and play and start learning the position, because obviously he can perform way better. I mean, like I said, we were playing the ones for the Denver Broncos, and some of those positions actually looked pretty good against the ones, and that's what you're wanting to see. And that's why Mike Zimmer chose, we're going to rest all these starters. I want to see what the backups can do, because we've done this every year, it seems like. First couple preseason games, we won't play any starters. We'll be playing teams, even typically the third, when we had 4 preseason games, the third preseason game is the one that your starters play a little bit.
Right.
Normally, we're quicker to pull our starters out and put our backups in and have our backups playing the number ones. And there's been years where they have performed very, very well against ones, and that's always encouraging to know, hey, our backups actually might have some potential to become starters one day, or if we have injuries, I'm not going to be so worried about losing that starter. So that was really nice to see. But that's just me watching my Vikings. Anything about the Browns, how you thought their performance went?
The Browns, once again, did not play really any starters, offense or defense. We looked okay. Offense, kind of middle of the round, but our backup quarterback came in, performed well. Former Minnesota guy,
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. He is, he's a fantastic security blanket for Baker.
Dude, after that year with him on the Vikings, I would absolutely love to have him on the team as a backup for any team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Not only is he a good guy, a high character guy, but he shows that with the right scheme, fit, and system around him, he can really perform. But you're not wanting him to be anything more than a backup for you guys.
No, but he knows that's the fancy system.
Oh,
he knows how to operate it. He performed. He went 13-3 that year for you guys.
Yeah, I believe so. And you could see the receivers were bailing him out. Thielen and Diggs were definitely bailing him out on a lot of plays. Right. But you build a system around him.
We have guys that could do that. If he had to come in,
absolutely.
We got Jarvis. We have Odell. We have a guy who I am very excited about going forward in the future in Donovan Peoples-Jones, who has looked fantastic, played well in this preseason game. But the guy who jumped off the tape is Joke. That dude is a baller. His nose is around the football all the time. Yep. Now, Stefanski said after the game there he needs to continue to improve his eye discipline. So there are times he's out of position. But even when he's out of position, he finds a way to be around the ball. Yep. That's instincts. That's athleticism.
3 TFLs, 1 sack, 8 total tackles, 7 of them solo. He looked very good. All right,
I cannot believe we were able to get him in the second round. Now, he is a little bit behind the 8 ball. Not because, he didn't perform well, but he missed time early in camp. He was on the COVID list. And he's playing catch-up. If this is Joke playing catch-up, I can't wait to see what he looks like when he is fucking locked in. This guy is going to be a starter on this Cleveland Browns defense to start the year. We have some injuries at linebacker, but even if we don't have a couple injuries at linebacker, I think he is going to show out and earn one of those starting spots. He's a guy with that position versatility. He can slide out, cover a tight end. You can put him in the slot and cover a receiver as long as he's not, going on a fly route and he's not running a 4-4. But ton of position versatility there. He is going to be so good. He is going to help this Cleveland Browns defense that struggled last year in stopping the run. A lot of missed tackles. You're not going to have a ton of missed tackles from Joke. He is going to attack downhill, and he is going to smack you in the fucking mouth. I love the way this kid looked. Greg Newsome, decent day, but gave up one big catch, but gave it up to a very tall veteran wide receiver in Marvin Jones on a great throw from Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. So, we all in all looked good. We go out, we beat the Jaguars. It doesn't really matter. We weren't playing any starters. If we were playing our starters, we beat the fucking brakes off of them. Defense looked pretty good. Offense did what, kind of we expected. They're very vanilla. But all in all, pretty good day.
Yeah, if you had to ask me right now without having a whole lot of tape to watch and see how these rookies are performing, my 1A for Defensive Rookie of the Year is Micah Parsons. Even though he didn't ball out as much as he did in
he wasn't
that
on the field
game,
as much.
That's the thing. Is he's like 4 tackles, 2 of them solo. He wasn't on the field very much because I think they're like, okay, we saw what he can do. If you watched Hard Knocks, you could see he got super pissed off on the sidelines in that Hall of Fame game because he's out there rocking, he's getting into his flow, and then Dan Quinn's like, nah, you're done, dude. And he's like, come on, I'm just getting fired, let me go. He's like, yeah, I know, you're done. Yeah. We saw what you could do. And that's actually good coaching. Pull that guy out. Don't let him get hurt or something like that. Don't waste your talented player.
Which has been a huge problem for Dallas Cowboy linebackers.
Absolutely.
So being smart with him.
So 1A, Micah Parsons, 1B is Joke, and then I think right now number 3 for me, or 2, I guess, would be Patrick Surtain the second.
Looked very good for that Denver Broncos team.
Obviously I got to watch a little bit more of him play because he was playing the Vikings, but he not only was like not targeted very much because he was doing hella good at coverage, but he went in and had a pick six.
Yeah.
And Surtain was one of my favorite cornerbacks coming out in the draft. But going back to your game, Cleveland Browns versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
A little bit of Jaguars news. Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Rest
So
in peace.
yeah. From everybody here at the Lineman Lounge, we would like to send our sincerest condolences to the football career of Tim Tebow.
Yep.
It has tragically come to an end. He was a roster cut down today. Rosters had to be cut from 90 to 85, so he was one of the 5 worst players on the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I knew, but sincerest condolences.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to stop acting like I give a shit about Tim Tebow because I fucking knew this was going to happen. He never should have been there, and I am so I no longer have to live in fear that Trevor Lawrence is going to throw a touchdown pass to Tim Tebow.
Yep. Until there's tight end injuries and they have to bring someone in and he knows the system, they're going to bring him back.
No, it's not fucking happening.
All right. Yeah.
Okay,
So
he can't
I'll eat
block,
crow.
he can't catch, he can't fucking do anything the tight end is supposed to do. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, we did
eat
see
this
that.
solid L.
So last week, I'll eat crow. I believe it was last week. I said that, hey, I think that he's actually going to make this roster based on the reports. He hadn't dropped a pass during training camp yet. He looked bodied up,
Right.
But it was still going to be an outside shot for him to make it. I didn't think he was going to make it as the starter. And I, was talking about how they've got tight end injuries on their team, which has moved him up the depth chart some. Which
And
is
they don't have anybody who's really
opportunities.
that good.
Yeah. So, but I'll eat crow. And I said that I thought he was possibly going to make that roster. And we see immediately that's not going to happen because, look, his career in the NFL is rightfully probably over. I don't dislike Tim Tebow or anything like that.
I don't
but, look,
dislike Tim either.
He's 34 years old. He's never been home at a true position. If he had started his career off as kind of that Taysom Hill type of quarterback where it's gadgety or H-back, tight end, all those sorts of things, I think he could have had some longevity with it, but he just really wanted just to be a quarterback. Obviously, it seems like he's a nice enough guy, a man of God,
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Great
and
guy.
I wish him the best, but the performance that we saw, not against the ones from him, showed that maybe he can catch the ball, though he didn't catch the ball.
No, and the one time it was
Saturday.
close to him, he ran the wrong route.
Yeah, but we also saw that he can't perform the necessary skills that you need to in order to be an NFL tight end, other than maybe move tight ends. His blocking was pretty much atrocious. He caught some heat on Twitter and with some clips of him kind of doing, I don't know how to put it, just
It wasn't a block.
juvenile versions of blocking, what you would expect someone who doesn't understand core fundamentals of blocking, how they would try to block in pee-wee tackle football.
I have
and
9-year-olds
stuff like
that block better than Tim Tebow did.
Right. So, and obviously he is going up against monsters, but that's part of the tight end position is that you are going to be needing to block guys that are way bigger than you, big ass defensive ends or linebackers crashing down. And he was just kind of throwing his body in the way, missing those blocks. I think he did the best with what he had available to him, which wasn't very much to begin with.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow, not part of the NFL anymore.
No,
I
thank
doubt that
God.
we will hear from him in a player's perspective anymore. He might go back to being like a college game day type of commentator or something like that. I think he's always going to kind of remain in the public space to an extent because he is super loved by college football fans, by Florida Gator fans. There's a lot of people that feel like he never should have left the Broncos.
Denver Bronco. He has a ton of Denver Bronco
Yeah.
fans. One of my roommate in college is still loves Tebow. It's always Tebow time whenever Tebow has the potential to be on the field. Yeah. And I don't hate Tim. I do not hate Tim Tebow. He is a great guy. He was just not a NFL player. Okay, we saw his fails as a quarterback. He had a couple of great moments, but ultimately flamed out.
Mhm.
Now, if Tim makes the switch early on in his career to be a tight end, maybe this works, like a Logan Thomas did.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. Okay, so he was always had that quarterback mentality. Then he became a baseball player. Then for some reason he thought he could come back and be a tight end. Tight end's a dirty position. You have to be able to block. You have to be able to go out and catch a pass. You have to know what fucking route you're supposed to run. The one pass that came near him, there was him and a receiver within like a yard of each other because Tim ran the wrong route, which means one defender can cover two guys. So he didn't run the right route. The first block that everybody saw on Twitter where he kind of chipped him with his shoulder, honestly, that's not terrible. It's a terrible block, but he got the job done. So he sealed the end, but he sealed him with the wrong shoulder, kind of threw his body into him, just flailing.
Going up against your high end or even your probably baseline starting defensive ends or defenders, that's not going to work.
Ever.
It's that was more luck and situational luck than anything else.
Then later on in the game, the block that was really egregious in my opinion, he absolutely whiffed. D-end olays him and then makes the tackle in the backfield, head down, body weight way forward. He lunged. Like, I talk to my linemen all the time. We never lunge. We look at what we hit. Tim didn't do that. That's fundamental football. That's stuff I teach to 9-year-olds, and Tim didn't have it. So I knew that this was not going to work out. Tim's a great guy, but he's not a tight end. He's not an NFL player. He is a all-time Hall of Fame college quarterback. But that's what he is. That's it. And that's okay. That is a ton of success. He's going to make a shitload of money. He could be an ESPN guy. He made money in the NFL because of how good he was in college, but he was not going to pan out.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
And
Most guys
jersey
don't.
sales, that guy's still living off of jersey sales that are still happening.
Right. I guarantee anybody in the NFL, like if you were a Tebow fan, you wanted him to come to your team. Didn't matter if he was good. You just wanted him there because you loved Tebow. So he has a cult following, and that's great. He's just not the guy. He's not even a guy. He shouldn't have been. He should not have had that roster spot. He took an opportunity away from somebody who maybe could have earned that spot, who played tight end in college. You got D2 kids, I bet, that could do a better job than what Tim did. I'm not. I don't want to keep burying him. I'm glad that he is no longer there. Maybe they'll bring somebody else in. Maybe they don't. I'm glad the experiment's over. Tim, move on. Do something else that you're good at, man. Go be an analyst. I love listening to Tim Tebow on College Game Day. He knows the game of football, but he's just not that player.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So going around looking at some of the other games.
Well, let's stay with that game.
Okay.
Do we want to get into the rookies?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where we're going to jump next is talk about the other games that happened around the NFL, in particular with rookie quarterback performances, because that's usually your biggest boom or bust for teams is if they draft a quarterback high, how are they going to perform? What does it mean for their future? And what sort of information we can pull from this limited action that we saw from them?
Right. Well, so in that Jacksonville Browns game, Trevor Lawrence looked okay. He didn't look great. He made that one big-time throw over the rookie Greg Newsome.
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence, 6 for 9, 71 yards. He was sacked twice. He had, of those 3 throws, some errant throws. It's what you kind of expect to see from a rookie quarterback.
Right.
Although he didn't put together a bad day.
No.
It wasn't anything spectacular.
No, there was nothing that surprised me about what he did. He kind of showed the things that he showed before. He has poise in the pocket. He can make every throw. But he is on a team that is basically devoid of talent. They go out, they draft a guy in Travis Etienne when they do not need a running back because Robinson had a great year last year.
Yep.
So I don't know what they do with Etienne. They can go get another receiver. I mean, they go get Marvin Jones, another good piece. They have DJ Chark.
If they truly use Etienne as a playmaker, not just a running back, then it makes sense because we put these guys into these little boxes.
Right.
This guy is a running back. This guy is a wide receiver. this running back has more receiving potential than another guy. It sounded like when they drafted him that Urban Meyer's plan was to use Etienne as a playmaker and not like sometimes he's in the backfield, sometimes he's a wide receiver, sometimes he's running a wildcat.
That Percy Harvin role that Urban
Percy
Meyer
Harvin or
kinda...
Cordero Patterson or something like that, because we see Cordero doing a lot more running back type stuff now. He's a returner, all that sort of stuff. Those are all really good things, and on a team devoid of talent, you just want a guy that can make plays,
right?
Because that's going to help your team. But on the flip side, is that the type of player that you want to take with a first round pick?
I don't think so.
Nah.
And so obviously it's preseason. They ran a pretty vanilla offense against a backup Cleveland Browns defense. He made some good throws. There were times I felt like he held the ball too long. That first sack, there was not a whole lot he could do about it on his first snap. His second sack, he did hold the ball too long. I don't think that he is caught up to the speed yet. I think it is a little faster for him than he was expecting, because this kid has been the number one pick in the NFL draft since his freshman year of college.
I mean, there's an argument that the talent that he was playing with in college, at least on the offensive side of the ball, was as good, if not better, than what you're seeing on the offensive side of the ball.
I think
on
every
his team.
single one of the receivers he played with in college has been drafted.
Yeah. So it's, he hasn't been in this position where he's on a kind of defunct team that is trying to find its way back into being a playoff contender. It's not going to happen this year, I don't think. And it's going to be something for him to have to figure out and work through. Now, the best quarterbacks always elevate those guys around them.
Yep.
I think he has the potential to do that, but it is literally his first preseason game and his first time in the NFL. That doesn't happen overnight. You don't see a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers going out there and immediately stepping on the field day one and elevating all those guys around them. It took a little bit of time with them. Mahomes sat for a year. Rodgers sat for multiple years. Right. It takes a little bit of time. I'm sure that Trevor Lawrence is going to figure this out by the end of the year, as long as he stays healthy, that things are going to start to click a little bit better, and we'll really want to be looking towards next season and thereafter to see where his future is going to head.
I don't see him having that Joe Burrow type of effect.
No.
Because Joe Burrow came in and he was lighting the NFL on fire with the way he started.
They still had more talent, I think, on that team.
Probably.
A really bad offensive line, obviously, rip his knee. But he had guys to throw to.
That is true.
Real solid receivers. And you just don't see that sort of talent yet with the Jaguars.
But Justin Herbert had a terrible line and lit it up.
He did. I think his line out of those three groups, though, was better. I think that
Jacksonville's
Chargers line
was probably the worst, yeah, for sure. But, not a bad day for Trevor Lawrence.
Yep. All right, so moving into another rookie quarterback who had a pretty good performance on Saturday. Easily, in my mind, the best quarterback performance of all the rookies on Saturday. Justin Fields, Chicago Bears. So Justin Fields goes out, 14 for 20, 142 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a fumble, but it was recovered by the offense. That's bound to happen with rookie quarterbacks, especially mobile guys. And to speak to that mobility, he also went out and rushed 5 times, 33 yards, and another touchdown. Right. Immediate return on investment on this guy looks like it's there. On a team that, again, it isn't super talented on the offensive side, and he's already been told he's not going to be the day one starter. That Andy Dalton is going to, the Red Rocket is going to get that job.
QB1, baby, QB1.
When I look at a rookie quarterback, I want that rookie quarterback to usually sit. It's nice to do that, but it's nice to do that if you have a entrenched starter in there. Andy Dalton, I suppose, could be that guy, but I think that this team has the potential to fight for a wild card spot. I think, you call me a homer, but I think the Vikings will it'll be the Vikings and the Packers fighting for that number 1 seed in the NFC North, and I think that the Vikings had the team to beat the Packers this year. But the Bears, underneath Justin Fields, I think absolutely have the potential to be right up there fighting with the Vikings and Packers for the NFC North.
It's a 10-7 team, I think.
A wild card spot. With Justin Fields, I think it could be better. Because especially the way that he played and what he brings to that team is a completely different dynamic to the offense.
But he's not going to start right away. So once Justin gets in there, he has the potential. I think he can get this team to maybe 10-7. Like you said, he looked fantastic.
It's going to be how long of a leash does Andy Dalton really have? But either way, the Justin Fields looked very good for the Chicago Bears. I'm both happy and sad. I'm sad because it's another established quarterback that I'm going to have to worry about in the NFC North. I thought, hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone after next season. I'm not going to have to deal with that BS anymore. Jared Goff isn't anything that I'm worried about in Detroit. No. And when it was just Big Dick Nick and Andy Dalton with Chicago, again, wasn't worried about it with Trubisky being there either. No. Obviously he's with the Bills now. But Justin Fields is a player that I really, really liked. I thought that the disparity between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields in the draft was way closer than what actually happened at draft time and what people were saying around draft time. I don't think they gave Justin Fields enough credit. As part of it was just Ohio State doesn't produce NFL caliber quarterbacks or whatever, which I get to a point. But at the end of the day, a player is a player, and if they are that supremely talented, you could go put John Elway, having played for Ohio State, and he's still going to be John Elway when he comes out into the NFL, right? So it hurts me a little bit because the Vikings, from all reports, tried to make an attempt to move up in the draft to get Justin Fields. They tried to work a deal with the Panthers, but they didn't push very hard. They didn't offer a ton. But I could have had my quarterback of the future in Justin Fields, which I was really excited about. It's, you take a Justin Fields as the Vikings, and then you're not going to get your left tackle of the future in Christian Darrisaw, which, our offensive line has been very rough. And I think if Darrisaw plays well this year, our team will be very good this year. Without him playing, I think the offensive line really struggles again. I think that's a big linchpin as to how the Vikings do this year is how well Darrisaw plays this year and the offensive line holds up.
Well, you got to get Wyatt Davis in there because Wyatt Davis is a stud. I thought he was way underdrafted in the 6th round.
And I think his injury played into that.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing that caused Wyatt Davis to fall. But either way, Justin Fields did not get drafted by the Vikings. We just made kind of a lowball offer just to see if the Panthers would bite on it. They didn't. I feel like we probably should have pushed more for it, but I'm not heartbroken over it as of this point. I probably will be in about 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And we ended up just going first pick in the 4th round and getting Kellen Mond, who had a very so-so day. But also he had practiced for 3 days total in training camp because of COVID protocol stuff. So I wasn't expecting a ton out of him in this first preseason game. But not about Kellen Mond, not about the Vikings. This is about Justin Fields. Justin Fields, he looked like the real deal. Out of all the rookie quarterbacks, he is the one that showed up. It is preseason. These games don't matter. They were playing the Dolphins. I don't even know if the Dolphins were really playing their ones on defense or if they were when he was in. I don't know the situation. What I do know is that the stat sheet shows that he had an extremely good day. And those sorts of stats, when they're that far over not just the other players on his team or the competition, but the other NFL quarterbacks that played in that first preseason week, there's something there. His potential is only going to rise, or his potential of being great is only going to go up as he gets more familiar with the system, gets more familiar with the NFL, as the years go by and the Bears increase the tools around him. So it's looking like a hell of a pick for the Bears. And it's going to be rough for the NFC North because I'm not saying he's going to get to an Aaron Rodgers level, but I think he has Deshaun Watson level talent or better potential. And he definitely showed up in this first week of preseason. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does next week too, because if he does it again, then it's kind of like I'm going to be even more hurt and even more happy for him.
So I love hearing you talk about my Ohio State guy, Justin Fields, because you're right. He absolutely balled. Now, he started off the game a little uneven, but this is his first action as a pro.
Uh-huh.
He's going to have some uneven moments. Now, what I thought he did a really good job of is when he had a clean pocket, he stayed in the pocket. When he needed to flush, he did flush, but he didn't just flush one way. He would flush right, he flushed left. That's how he scored that rushing touchdown, is he actually flushed left and was able to break pocket and score. So he's not a one-sided. He's not going to just flush one way. We see a lot of quarterbacks who will only roll out to their right. Some guys who like going out to their left. He could do both, so he can run. Now he had the fumble, that's going to happen when you have professionals who are better at punching out the ball than the guys in college. I'm okay with that. It didn't end in a turnover, luckily. Obviously, we want a little bit more ball security. They're going to work on that, but 14 to 20 for 142 yards, 7.1 yards per average. That's pretty good considering that he started uneven. So he didn't start great, got better as he went on. In his post-game press conference, he said that the game didn't feel like it was too fast. If anything, it seemed like it was a little slow. Now, I don't know if that's him just trying to pump himself up, but he seems very confident. He looks like the guy.
Yeah, the game doesn't seem too big for him at all.
At
And
all.
for what it's worth, these preseason games, that you're not running a full playbook.
Right.
This is still almost like a glorified. It's a live game, but it is a way of practicing to see who is going to get a roster spot or not.
Yep.
So coaches are going to be focusing not just on the system, but a lot more on individual performances and stuff like that. So there's going to be it makes sense that the game could be slower than what he's wanting.
Right.
He has been spending this offseason getting ready to play for the Bears' full offensive playbook, and he's probably getting limited to a quarter of it or something like that because they are just looking for traits and things like that from players, not from what this offensive potential is for the entire offense. So I get that. It's also probably some of him saying, hey, I did good. I think I can do a lot better.
Right.
This game isn't bigger than I can handle. I'm ready to go type thing.
And by the way, you guys took 3 quarterbacks in front of me, and I looked easily the best of the group. He looks good getting guys lined up, the process getting in and out of the huddle. That's very important for a rookie in his first preseason game. A lot of times you see pre-snap penalties, things like that. Didn't really have that. Justin Fields had a great day. I mean, we've said it before. This guy has the potential to be the best quarterback of this class. He has the physical tools, and he's on a decent team. Now, this offense is not great. They have I call him a fringe elite wide receiver in Allen Robinson. I don't know if he's quite elite, but he is right there, very close. More offensive weapons definitely needed to help Justin Fields, but not a terrible team, not a good team. They're somewhere in the middle. I think Justin Fields, if he is that guy that we think he can be, he is going to elevate those people around him.
How many weeks before he starts?
I don't see, it can't be more than 4. So he starts in week 5.
Week 5 is what I have for him too.
Starting in week 5.
I don't think Andy Dalton is going to do anything to put this team above the mark for wins. I think it's going to be kind of lackluster. If Justin Fields keeps on putting out performances like this,
he might start week 1.
The fans are going to be cheering for him on the sidelines. There's going to be immense pressure. It's not like the coaching staff there is solidified in anymore.
No, they're
firmly
in the hot seat.
All right. So that switch, this is the perfect scenario for a quick switch to happen. And I think even with Trevor Lawrence starting from week 1, which is going to happen, I love Gardner. He's not going to start week 1, I don't think.
Right.
I still think Justin Fields ends up being the best rookie quarterback out of this class statistically and from record perspective. I would not put it out of the realm of possibility that he could get Offensive Rookie of the Year if he takes his team to the playoffs, if he gets in as a wild card or otherwise.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, I definitely see him as probably the favorite based on the way he looked so far. I don't know if the Bears have a better record than the Patriots. I mean, Patriots are going to play good defense. They're going to be conservative. Mac Jones isn't going to turn over the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the record, he has the best record. But, I mean, with what I saw, this guy has that it factor. He has that special
I'm
shit.
admittedly bullish on him right now. And it's one game. It's one preseason game against less than superior talent. But
do it next week.
I felt this way. I don't know about Offensive Rookie of the Year potential when he was, undrafted so far or before the draft. But I was bullish on him then. I'm bullish on him now. This kind of solidified a little bit more of my feelings, and maybe I'm going a little bit too far with it. But I think that he has a very bright future ahead of him, and it could be happening very quick this year.
Yeah. I don't know another guy that I would say who's in a better position to be the offensive rookie of the year. He's going to come in, take over, and potentially lead his team to the playoffs if this Chicago's Bear defense shows up again. I mean, but I don't see any other quarterbacks in that conversation. I don't have Najee Harris in that conversation. Maybe Jamar Chase, depending on if Burrow can stay healthy and sling him the ball enough. I mean, Justin Jefferson had one of those types of years last year. If it weren't for Justin Herbert going absolutely apeshit, Justin Jefferson probably wins Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. So maybe a receiver could do it, but he's in that best position. He looks great. I'm super happy. I cannot wait to see him succeed so we can get rid of the stigma about Ohio State quarterbacks.
Now, that brings us to our next rookie quarterback, your favorite Zach Wilson, someone that you've really thought is going to have a great NFL career and is in the perfect situation. So Zach Wilson is 6 for 9, 63 yards. Not a great day, not a bad day. That's an okay stat line for, I mean, only 9 passes, not bad at all. Looks like he didn't have any rushes or anything like that. And I'm not seeing any sort of turnovers or anything like that for him. So, I mean, it's looking like he had an okay day.
So I went back
spectacular.
And I watched because I wanted to make sure that I was doing my research because I have buried this guy, right? That I do not like him.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and watched all of his passing attempts. There are times where he looks really good. When he is on the move, he is very good. But you can't move the pocket all the time. His second throw of the game, it's a little 5-yard out. 3-step drop. Once that back foot hits in that third step, that ball is supposed to be out. That's a timing and that's a rhythm throw. And he absolutely dirts it. It is a very, very bad throw. Now, he did stand in the pocket a little bit and tried to make an attempt. Another very errant throw. But he at least hung in the pocket for a throw, which is something I like to see out of a rookie. But my problem with Zach has never been his arm talent. My problem with Zach is that he doesn't throw in rhythm. That second throw of the game is exactly what I'm talking about and why it scares me. In the NFL, you have to throw within rhythm. This is another reason why I don't like Tua, because he doesn't throw in rhythm. On those quick 3-step drops, you don't have time for the hitch, especially if you're throwing an out route, because if you're late on an out route, that's 6 going the other way. So when that back foot hits on that third step, that ball has got to be out and it has to be accurate, and it was not. There was another play later in the game where when he gets into that last step and that ball's supposed to be coming out, it's offline. Zach Wilson needs a hitch to get his feet right and get set to be in rhythm and on balance for the way he throws. Not every route combination allows for that hitch. He has got to find a way to, when that last step hits, the ball comes out. He doesn't have it right now, and it scares me because I'm not sure that you coach that into a kid at this point in his career. So I don't know if you were pulling up the video of what I was talking about, but
no. For me, again, it's first week of preseason. It's new offense.
It is.
He was playing for BYU before, and they don't have like some prolific pro style offense necessarily. No. I give him a little bit more leash. It's the Jets. If there is a quarterback graveyard, it is with the New York Jets. So I think he's got an uphill battle. He's probably going to have a rough first season.
This is going to be a very tough year. I worry that what just happened to Sam Darnold is exactly what's going to happen with Zach Wilson.
I didn't like Sam Darnold, though.
Zach has more arm talent than Sam does, for sure. But those things that scared me with Sam was the turnovers. With Zach, if he can't learn how to throw in rhythm, he's going to deal with turnovers, or it's all going to be short dink and dunk. That's not, and you cannot live that way in the NFL. The Steelers did it for 11 weeks. And then everybody's like,
Everyone figured it out.
they cannot fucking throw the ball down the field. And then you stack the box, you play everybody tight, and then you lose 5 of your last 6. You can't win that way. You can be successful for a small period of time, and that's what scares me about Zach. I'm not saying that he looked terrible by any means. He looked a little bit better than I thought he was going to look, considering how bad that Jets team is. But those things that I talked about in the beginning that worried me, I saw those things on the tape. So,
and so move on to another quarterback real quick. Probably the most vanilla out of the group, in my opinion, Mac Jones. We can get on to Mac Jones real quick.
This is going to be very quick.
He's vanilla. He's 13 of 9, 87 yards, 4.6 yard average. It looks like he's running Bill Belichick's offense. It is vanilla. Vanilla can win though, especially in Tom Brady's last years. It's not like, he's a great quarterback. He's doing what he needs to do. He's game managing, and that's what Mac Jones is there to do. Cam Newton goes 4 for 749 yards, so a little bit more explosive and whatnot. But Mac Jones looked like he's filling the role that he's supposed to fill. Bill Belichick came out today and said, I'm not naming a starter yet.
No.
So we'll see what actually happens there. I feel like he's probably going to end up going with Cam Newton just because Bill is Bill, and he's more apt to sit a guy who's a rookie than to just throw him out into the fire right away. But he looked like your average tapioca game manager quarterback, which is what they brought him in to be. And if he's filling that role, that's good for him.
Yeah, Mac Jones is white bread. He's fucking plain. But we all knew that. He's conservative with the ball, doesn't make mistakes. You said 13 for 19, 87 yards. That's 4.6 yards per attempt. He's going to take the dumps. He's going to take the little checkdowns. He's not going to force the ball down the field.
And 2 rushes for no yards.
Yeah, he's safe.
Yeah.
He's that guy that you date. He's the guy you date after you get out of a bad breakup. That's what he is. He is white bread. He is vanilla. And that's okay. That works up in New England because they're going to be very good on defense. Now, is Mac going to ever be a prolific guy like Tom eventually became? Maybe. He's definitely not that right now. He is going to be safe. He is potentially going to not lose them a game, which is why I think that the Patriots have a chance to have that better record than the Bears. But they play in a very, very tough division. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mac was exactly what we expected. Safe, vanilla, white bread.
Yep. And then moving on to more of your boomer bust type of guy, you have North Dakota State University's Trey Lance. Trey Lance, if you look at the stat sheet, there's some things that really stand out in a good way and in a bad way. So he goes 5 for 14, 128 yards with a 9.1 yard average and a touchdown. Now, if you take out one pass out of that whole equation, it looks like he had a dumpster fire day.
Oh, yeah. He was hot and cold. There was no middle ground. Because on top, so the 5 for 14, 128, that's an 80-yard touchdown pass in there as well, right?
Yeah.
But also on top of that, it took 4 sacks. Mm-hmm. That's not great.
No.
Now, I'm going to give Trey the benefit of the doubt. He has not played hardly at all over the last 2 years because of COVID and I think it was injury up in North Dakota State.
So I don't know about the injury. I know that he did not play last year because he sat out due to COVID, which was a real ballsy move. When you're at North Dakota State University, you're not one of the premier football teams.
No, I mean the best quarterback to come out of there is Carson Wentz, and well, we've seen how that worked out.
But so kind of knowing just that general region in the college football landscape of it, North Dakota State was always D1 AA, and they were a powerhouse. They constantly were winning championships and stuff up there. They would consistently come and play the Gophers or Wisconsin, and they would put up a very competitive game, if not win those games.
They beat a couple of those
which
D1
is
teams.
Which is why they've moved up. And so North Dakota State is one of those places that very good talent goes to that isn't getting all the offers from some of the big name schools. Trey Lance, a Minnesota guy, so I'm rooting for him in general. He has really, really great arm talent, and he's athletically gifted.
He looks the part.
He is coming from a smaller school, though, even with North Dakota State's kind of lineage and how they've been dominant. And part of a knock on him was they have been so dominant that he's not playing against anywhere near NFL competition, and those stats might be inflated some. And I think some of what we saw from him over this weekend shows that a little bit, is that he can be extremely dominant in situations, but he has to catch up to the NFL game. He needs time to get back in football shape. He needs to get time to get acclimated to an NFL playbook. He needs to get acclimated to playing against NFL players. He's got a lot of talent. I have kind of been on the fence of he could be a Patrick Mahomes light because of that arm talent. And when I saw that 80-yard touchdown throw, I thought that looks like a Mahomes style, easy wrist flick throw, 80 yards touchdown. And Mahomes sat for a year, right?
Yep.
If Trey Lance sits for a year, I think that he could have that same kind of potential path. I don't know that he'll ever be as good as Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But I'm honestly not concerned with his performance. It was not good, but it's kind of what I expected from him at this point. He's definitely the type of guy that needs to sit for a year.
Yeah, he can't play this year. I think I was listening to Coward the other day. I think he's had 20 passes in the last 560 days. So he has not played a lot of football recently. He needs reps. He should be taking as many reps as possible in the preseason, because he's probably not going to play when the season comes around.
Barring injury to Garoppolo,
right?
Which is always on the table.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of teams that carry 3 quarterbacks on the active roster into game day.
Yeah.
The
Now,
49ers might be one.
Yeah, they have Josh Rosen, who we could talk about Josh Rosen, but for what it's worth, Rosen had an okay day too. He was 10 for 15, did have an interception.
Yeah, it's Josh Rosen. I don't care.
Right.
Don't care.
But like you said, they could carry 3 on that roster if they are extremely committed to not playing Trey Lance this year, which when they came out and they said, hey, we're not trading Garoppolo, it's the smart decision.
Right.
They could have gotten a bit of a boon for Garoppolo, but I think it would have been a detriment to Trey Lance and his career. So good job on them for not going after that carrot and trading Garoppolo. But Trey Lance, again, he showed some really good stuff here. He just needs time to develop.
Yeah, ton of arm talent. Definitely needs a little bit more time. All right, I just want to make sure, because it sounded like my mic wasn't coming through. Do I sound all right?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right, cool. All right, so that's our main quarterbacks, right?
I mean, we talked a little bit. Sam Ellinger for the Colts, he had a good day.
Yeah.
10 for 15, threw an interception, 155 yards. He looks like what you expect from a backup quarterback already.
He looks like Colt McCoy.
Yeah. So and that is good.
Yeah.
That's what you want in a backup quarterback, a guy who can come in, start in a pinch, but obviously he's not going to be the guy that you want to start every single game. So that's good for the Colts with their Carson Wentz situation.
Right. I think he is better than Jacob Eason from what I saw, though.
Yeah. So, Eason's 15 for 21, 183 yards.
Yeah, but there was something different about when Sam was on the field than when Eason was out there. At least that's the way it felt to me when watching that game.
He's talking about Sam Ellinger. He's a more polished guy already. Eason needed a lot of work. He is that really big arm talent guy, but everything else is kind of lacking. So, Sam Ellinger, the safe play for the Colts. Good on them for drafting him. I believe a 5th-round pick. That'll be good for them. Other than that, the only other thing that I would even consider bringing up is Jordan Love, Packers. Jordan Love, some people thought he had a good day. He kind of hurt his arm. It doesn't sound like it's going to be too bad. He was 12 for 17, 122 yards and a touchdown against the Texans, potentially the worst football team this year. And they also weren't playing all their starters. So I'm not reading into that a whole lot. Again, it's preseason. I'm not reading into scores either, but the Texans won 26-7. So the one score that they did have was a Jordan Love throw, and he got hurt on the play. So
you're not going to sell me on Jordan Love until I actually see him play in a meaningful game.
Yeah. I mean, this is his first preseason game ever because of the COVID year last year. First time that we actually got to see him on the field. I suppose he didn't look too bad, but again, it's like you're playing a JV team, you know?
Yeah, I don't see it with him at all. But I mean, maybe he'll turn it around, and maybe he'll be good.
I don't think he'll ever be truly good. I think he's going to be a stopgap for the Packers at best until they.
He may be the worst decision the Packers have ever made, though, because it's going to cost them their Hall of Fame.
I completely agree with you. I laughed and laughed and laughed so hard during that draft when they took him. That whole draft was just a shit show. But we talked about that before, too. So I think that kind of wraps it up for what we're planning on shooting for, talking about with preseason week 1. We're kind of going quarterback heavy just because it's easier to have takes on some of those individual players and their situations. And that's what people like to hear and talk about a lot of times is your quarterbacks that are getting their due in the preseason. Other than that, like I said, I watched a little bit of Hard Knocks, that first episode, even though I dislike the Cowboys in their fan base. It's always fun to watch those shows. One takeaway I got from that was that, I was surprised it actually clicked for me this time watching, is that I think Cowboys fans are just Raiders fans who have less time incarcerated.
Okay.
It was like the first minute, I think, that they did a shot where they're showing fans walking past a fence line going to training camp, and it's just like lower torso down, and immediately I saw some ankle high jean shorts.
Nice.
That are your classic cholo look, stuff like that. I was like, am I watching a Raiders piece of film, or is this Cowboys? It's obviously the Cowboys because this is their training camp. Yeah, that's just my little joke on the Cowboys fan base. Y'all are fucking stupid.
I thought it was interesting that Dak and McCarthy, they don't really fucking know each other at all.
Yeah.
At all. Like, you could tell in that first episode, they're still getting to know each other.
Yeah, you don't have that good head coach quarterback rapport.
No, so this is very much going to be a learning process, which does not set up well for the Cowboys.
Hey, look, I think McCarthy is an extremely overrated coach. He's got one Super Bowl that he was able to get riding the coattails of a superior, talented team. And his system is old. Mm-hmm. It is predictable. That's why the Packers got rid of him. I never wanted the Packers to get rid of him because it was like, I know what we're going to see every year. And we can game plan for the same exact thing every year. And every year you're doing worse and worse and worse because every year we've got a new tactic to go against you.
Well, he told Jerry he was sitting down in the basement just studying, doing new shit. And then during the press conference, told him they lied to him.
Yeah.
Probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we'll see what happens there. It doesn't really matter. We'll look at that as the season goes along, see how everything tracks. But I think that probably kind of wraps it up for today's show.
I think so, man. I think we got everything covered that we wanted to hit. Even got a couple little extra things in there. So yeah, let's wrap this thing up and let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So make sure you go to our socials, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give it a little gentle touch on the like button if you could. A caress, if you will. Check us out on Spotify, Google Play Store. I'm bad with knowing all the different.
So we got Spotify,
areas.
Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Basically, anywhere podcasts are found, we're on fucking iHeartRadio even. Mm-hmm. So you can listen to us anywhere. We got all the socials. LymanLounge@gmail.com for that mailbag. Go ahead and write into us with some questions if you got anything. And then, like Mike alluded to, we're going to kind of start getting some more engagement with you guys, particularly through the Facebook, and probably post it up on Twitter and stuff like that. Run a poll of like a start, sit, and cut. We'll work through who those players are going to be in that scenario tonight or tomorrow and get that out on social, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that for you guys to not only vote but give your 2 cents on it. We'll kind of pick comments from that and go over what we think in our next pod on Friday. But yeah, it's always good to talk sports, Mike. Hell yeah.
Having a good time doing it. I get to go do a little flag football practice if it happens. I'm just hearing shitloads of thunder behind me right now. So, I get to go do that and then go to work. Yeah,
so I had no practice for me tonight. We got rained out last night. We got practice Wednesday, Thursday. Getting ready for our first game this weekend. We still don't know who we're playing, where the fuck we're playing, or what time we're playing, but we know we're playing on Saturday. So we're still shooting from the hip a little bit. It's all right. We got a couple more things we got to work out. Got to get a special teams practice in because I guarantee the kids that were there last year have forgotten what the hell we do on special teams, and the kids that were not there last year have absolutely no idea what to do on special teams. So that's going to be a big part of our practices this week, making sure that we run in our lanes, which is hard for 9-year-olds, and I'm sure you've seen that with 5 and 7-year-olds, constantly heads back and forth looking where everybody else is at when they're running.
I just have a tough enough time stopping them from wanting to hug each other for an hour and a half. So, yeah, any sort of basic concept right now is tough to handle. But We'll see how it goes. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's been fun. And make sure you come check us out on our socials, and we'll get back to you a little bit later this week.
See you.